Boom shakalaka. There is a lot of fear and uncertainty in the cryptocurrency market right now. In today's video, I'm going to be going over exactly when the Bitcoin bottom date and price are based on data that we have that's very suggestive of where Bitcoin could wind up. And specifically based on this data, I'm going to take a look at a chart that's to suggest exactly why this is correct. You'll definitely want to stay tuned. What's up everyone, Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's video, we're taking a look at when the Bitcoin bottom is and where the price is going to be at that point. Because a lot of people are fearful right now, a lot of people have lost a lot of money, and everybody wants to know, is the pain over? How low can Bitcoin price go? Are we in a bear market or is there yet hope? So I want to take a look at some scenarios today and give you exact prices. And if you stay tuned till the end, I'm going to go over exactly why, based on this chart, it is exceedingly likely to be true. But before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Also, come join us over on Twitter at the Crypto Love. Now, preface. It should just be said that no one can predict the future, not even myself. But what we can do is we can take a look at some data that we have on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to determine, hey, these things happened in previous markets. They might be likely to happen again, because while history may not repeat itself, it certainly does rhyme. Now, some of the things we're going to be taking a look at today to kind of get a better understanding of where the Bitcoin price bottom could be and that price are things like the Pi Cycle Top Indicator, also cbbi.info, also the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart. But before we get into that, let's start with where Bitcoin is today. Because if you take a look, people are extremely fearful right now. You know why they're fearful? Because they're losing money. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And people who tell you that it's a bull market or a bear market, honestly, the truth is nobody knows yet. But we can take a look at some data, which we're going to do today, to determine where the possible bottoms are. Now, right now, 12, extreme fear. Yesterday, extreme fear. Last week, extreme fear. And last month, it was getting pretty darn fearful. And if we take a look at the price today, the market pretty much has just moved sideways since yesterday. Bitcoin at 36.64, Ethereum at 23.87, BNB at 360, Cardano at 103, XRP 59 cents, Solana 87.90, and Terra 63.87. Now, why are we using these specific indicators? Well, the Pi Cycle Top Indicator has done a pretty good job of picking out every top that we've pretty much had. It had picked out the two tops back here in 2013, it picked out the top in 2017, and it picked out one of these tops in 2021. So it's done a pretty good job of picking out most of the tops. Better than that, though, is cbbi.info, which actually takes a look at a number. Right now we have 11 different indicators of a top. It takes a look at all of them, averages them out, and then gives us this chart right here to say, hey, these are tops, especially when it gets towards the black color, the reddish black. That is certainly a top. So it picked out the tops with very high confidence. But what we saw back here the first time in 2013 and also this time in 2021, they don't look as confidently as tops. And lastly, we're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart, because this uses logarithmic regression to basically tell us, is Bitcoin in bubble territory, or is it still cheap? Or is it just hodl territory? And this gives us a very good idea of where the fair value of Bitcoin could be on a specific date. Because generally, when Bitcoin is in the blue to light green color, that's kind of the fair value of Bitcoin. When it gets into the orange to red, that's bubble territory. So let's get into it, guys, because I'm sure this is what you all want to know and what you're all waiting for. And like I said, wait till the end, because there is some pretty interesting stuff you should definitely see. So there's a few different scenarios, because nobody knows so far if this was the top, if this was the top, or if we haven't yet seen a top. People can speculate as much as they can, but, you know, if people could predict the future, they would be bajillionaires, and they're just not. So while we can speculate all day long, the truth is nobody knows the future. But based on information that we have, it doesn't appear like we've had a top. And you're arguing me already. You're saying, but yes, it does. Well, even if we take a look at the market to thermocap ratio, in the previous tops, we had very high peaks in this thermocap ratio, whereas the intermediate top we did not have that high of a peak. As a matter of fact, it was the same level where we were the first peak we had back in April. So suggesting that the price may have yet to go up. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into this, because the first possibility for the Bitcoin bottom date, and the reason that I say this is because if we take a look at the Bitcoin price charts, basically after we have a top, guess what? A year later, it's the bottom. Same thing happened here in 2017. We had the top, a year later, it's the bottom. So this year already, we've had two possible tops already. We had one top picked out by the Pi Cycle top, and then we had another top by actually a higher price by, $100 or whatever it was, or a few $1,000s, but really not that much significantly. So the first potential top date would be April 10th of 2021, making a year later, April 10th of 2022, the bottom, because a year after a top is a bottom. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart on that date, way down here in the basically a fire sale territory, we would see that the price, the low on April 10th of 2022, which I should remind you is only 3 months away, is $18,000. Now, is this completely unreasonable? No, a lot of people are speculating that Bitcoin could head down to that $20,000 to $17,000 area. Not surprising, if indeed the Pi Cycle top chart was correct and it picked this top, April 10th, as the top, well then potentially April 10th of 2022 could be the next bottom. But that's only the first scenario, because that's only one potential top. We've already had two potential tops this year. Because if you remember, this top picked out by the Pi Cycle top was not the highest numerical top. This was like $65,000. Bitcoin went up to almost $70,000. So based on that, we would actually have another top around November 15th of 2021, a few months back, making the bottom a year after that, November 15th of 2022. And again, if we go to the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart all the way out to November of 2022, we can see that the fair market value of Bitcoin would, as a matter of fact, be $23,688. And I hear you all still crying because this is still a lot lower than where Bitcoin price is right now. But have some faith, because it does get better. You see, that's not the last scenario, because that's suspecting that we have already seen the top. And while it's possible we may already have seen the top, there's also the whole expanding cycle theory. And based on many charts like cbbi.info, based on this market cap to thermocap ratio, even based on the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart, how we never even got into sell territory or FOMO intensifies or bubble territory, based on a lot of things, it's suggesting that we haven't yet seen the top. Now, there's a few speculations as to when the top might come. So the first one is going to be based on cbbi.info's indicator halving to peak days. You can see we're 92% of the way there already. The date based on halving to peak days on expanding cycles based on what we've seen previously, well, that would be March 29th of this year. March 29th, 2022 would be the top, which would make the bottom a year after that. And if, based on the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart, we went all the way out to there, guess what? The price of Bitcoin would be roughly $27,852. So still lower than where we are today, but not by that much, and certainly not breaking previous all-time highs. Which brings us to the last scenario, because Ben Cohen and others also have an expanding cycle theory, which is a little bit different than this halving to peak days, but it puts the top somewhere around November of 2022. Well, if the top is November of 2022, then the bottom would therefore be November of 2023. And again, if we take a look at the Bitcoin Rainbow price chart, we could see the Bitcoin fair value around that point of being, well, $36,927. Pretty much where we are right now. Now, that's four different scenarios we took a look at. We took a look at, well, let's say that the first one is Bitcoin happened at the Pi Cycle top, and that would be an $18,000 bottom. Or maybe Bitcoin happened at the $70,000 top. Well, that would suggest a $23,000 bottom. Or Bitcoin will happen based on cbbi.info's number of March 29th of this year, which would put a $27,000 bottom. Or if we're relying on Ben Cohen's expanding cycles, we would see a $36,000 bottom. But you know what's the cool stuff with math? You can take averages and you can find out stuff with averages. So if we take the average of these 4 potential bottoms, it would actually put us roughly around November of 2022 being the bottom with a $26,713 Bitcoin. Now, I hear you guys crying saying this is lower than where Bitcoin is now. That's another $10,000. Should I go into stable coins right now? Should I go ultra 100x leverage short on Bitcoin right now? And I'm not going to answer that question for you other than that leverage is just for idiots. But if that's you, I mean, by all means, definitely go for it. But I do want to bring this chart right here because we compare Bitcoin a lot to like US dollars. But the thing that you don't realize is US dollars are dependent upon a government, and a lot of the fear right now is based on things that the government may have said about, tightening up monetary supply, increasing interest rates, stopping printing money, and you can see what happens. But if we actually take a look, really, instead of Bitcoin to US dollars, we take a look at Bitcoin to M1 money supply. That's actually this chart here. And on a logarithmic scale, you can see that we actually haven't broken out of where Bitcoin has been in since 2017. In terms of all the printing money, guess what? We're in this same dotted white line sideways trend. However, I do want you to take a look at a couple things right here. So as you can see, there's this red dotted line on the bottom right here. And if we take a look at this, this has been pretty strong support for Bitcoin since 2013. All the way back then, it's been strong support for Bitcoin. And we're still above there. But where we are right now, we're actually we wicked off of the bottom of this sideways trend that Bitcoin's been in. But if you take a look from the top back here in 2017 and then the peak back here in 2019, well, you can see we actually flipped that for the first time in February, and then it broke back underneath for a little bit, but flipped it again in July. And you can see the body of the candle is right there resting on it right now, which brings us to the last point. The date that we had here for the bottom, November of 2022. If we take a look at November of 2022, that would be right here, this green line. Coincidentally, where this top trend line and this bottom trend line meet, pretty much almost identically there, which would suggest that potentially we could have something along the lines of Bitcoin either hovering above here or breaking below there, finding some support before it takes off, if that's the direction that it's going to head with monetary supply. Because there is just another little warning right there that if we do have that happen, we have shoulder, we have head, we have shoulder, that could potentially push the price down there. But, I mean, if you're in Bitcoin and if you're in cryptocurrencies, clearly you see the opportunity, the potential for them, and you don't think that traditional markets are going to hold up to cryptocurrencies and different things like that. So I will leave that up to you, whether you think the price is going to go up or to go down. But that being said, we have some scenarios for where Bitcoin price could end up. Me personally, I'm still hesitant to believe we've actually seen a top. None of the data we have suggests that we've seen the top yet. But, I mean, all the data could be wrong, and this could be a brand new scenario for Bitcoin. So if you guys did enjoy that, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. I will catch you guys later. Have a good one. Love you. Peace.